G'day everyone, I'm the Red Scar, this is Red Scar Gaming. Today I will be doing my summary for the third draft I had with Outlaws of Thunder Junction. I basically played a Selesnya deck to try and sample as much of the saddle mechanic as I can. I'll admit that I started this draft not being a huge fan of saddle in general. I'm sure there's the occasional good usage out of it. But yeah, I wanted to test a few things, and I'll talk about them as I go through. But yeah, ultimately I only won one game, so maybe I just didn't do very well, or maybe I got to try again and do something better. But yeah, we'll see how we go. Steer Clear is a good card. I think it sort of could probably go in any white deck. It's better if you have Mount, of course, but you could probably draft it in probably anything and at least get away with it occasionally. Snakeskin Veil, I know from experience actually in its various other standard formats, can be very good. I'm not so sure in a draft. It certainly helps, and the +1/+1 counter can save a creature. The hexproof bit certainly helps in the right circumstance. The only thing with Snakeskin Veil, though, is that because it's put a 1/1 counter on and hexproof, you either save your creature from a removal spell, or you save them from an otherwise even trade. It sort of tries to do two things at once and only does one of them. It's certainly not a bad card, especially for 1 mana, but yeah, just keep that in mind. Dast Animus, I think I only got to play him once actually, which I suppose I'm not disappointed with or anything, but Dust Animus has been pointed out as a very usable card, sort of regardless of what situation you're talking about. Sure, it's not exactly game winner, but the game, I suppose the game I played him with, I think I won that one. So yeah, I could be wrong. Feel free to correct me, but yeah, it is a powerful card regardless of when you play it. I think is the long story short. Either turn 2 or turn 5 is sort of the optimum curve of it. But yeah, it's good, and I draft it again, but I prefer to do it in a different situation ultimately. Ariet's Lullaby, I partly drafted that because I've seen some statistics behind, long story short, saying that it's actually not as good as everyone thinks it is, though I'm certainly happy-ish with it, partly because it is one of very few removal spells that I would otherwise have access to. That whole gain 2 life is good, but it's not the win con or anything. I think perhaps in this particular deck, with a little bit of hindsight, Ariet's Lullaby is good in the sense that I can comparatively just attack with everything. Who cares what dies? Even if so long as my opponent doesn't kill me in the return fire, then I can destroy tapped creature, the whatever they attacked with, plus recover a little bit from their attack. So it's sort of a I'm sure there's a word for it that I'm missing here, but it's a your opponent underestimates you. I'm sure there's a word for that. Yeah, but whether that means that I should draft it in this circumstance is up to your debate, I'm sure. Trained Arynx, as I said when I drafted it, I'm really not a fan of it. It did have a bit better of an opportunity in this particular draft, though. I think it was mainly the aspect of First Strike that was useful in this particular draft. Because there was a few times, correct me if I'm wrong, I had it equipped with Reach for the Sky and was able to put some 1/1 counters on it for various reasons. It became pretty dangerous, though in that particular circumstance my opponent had pretty big creatures too, so I wasn't going to win just because I felt like it. But yeah, I think with the power of hindsight, Trained Arynx is a good card if you can saddle it consistently. Though you still do have to keep in mind that saddle can ultimately mean tap 2 creatures, which, yeah, you got to go pretty wide to still be at least vaguely on the defensive. Bristleback Sentry, I said a few times during the draft that maybe I shouldn't have kept 3 of them. I'm not sure where I should hold that, because I can see why people don't want them just as a 2 mana cost creature with Defender, because, yeah, you don't know what you want to be doing next turn anyway. But you don't really need much alteration for it to be a good card, and plus you get that extra turn, tempo being even, you do sort of get that extra turn to draw with and such. But I suppose on that point, because I can't attack, I'm not actually doing anything with that free turn, inverted commas, that I'm getting after I play this. So maybe with the power of hindsight, I relied a bit too much on Bristleback Sentry. I do have a lot at 2 mana curve, so maybe I should have gone something else. I'd probably still keep 1 in my deck, but yeah, 3 was probably a bit much. Voracious Varmint, I think, is just a pretty useful card anyway. It's, yeah, certainly not going to win you the game anytime soon, but a 2/2 Vigilance is good, and sacking it to get rid of target artifact or enchantment is certainly useful. I got to use it pretty effectively game 3, I think it was. That's 2 or 3. Anyway, one of the earlier games, I got to use him pretty effectively. Stuff like pay 1 mana, sacrifice your creature to do something, regardless of what it is, can actually be pretty damn useful. And Voracious Varmint is useful in that sense, so I'd probably draft him again. A better circumstance maybe, but he's a good card. Miriam I didn't get to use quite as much as I'd probably hoped for, but yeah, not complaining too much there. The whole mounts vehicles thing is pretty much why I drafted her. A 3/2 for 2 mana is, yeah, good. The only thing you got to be a bit careful with her though is that it doesn't take too long into the game for your opponent to go, yeah, okay, attack with Miriam, see what happens. So you got to be a bit careful with it. Mystical Tether I think it was 1 use out of. As I said when I drafted it, it's pretty much just a removal spell, which, yeah, I don't mind. It's essentially murder in that sense, a little better arguably, but yeah, I'd go with it again in this circumstance, but yeah, whether I'm going to get that circumstance again, I'm not sure. Drove Grizzly, I think I only used it once, and I was on the back foot anyway, so look, I sort of didn't really get to test it as much as I'd like to. It got used against me, I think, twice, and the fact that you saddle it, all your creatures get trample, can be very good. I think it was game 2. I'm sure someone will correct me if I'm wrong. My opponent played drove a Grizzly and used it to, I would argue, probably the best circumstance I've ever seen. So in that particular match, my opponent did very well and was relying on a lot of creatures attacking. So yeah, just did very well. Outcast a Greenblade. As I said when I played him, I think I only got the 1 chance to play him actually, which is a bit slightly disappointing, but that's all right. Yeah, as I said when I played him, he's all but a 2/3 and can pretty easily be a 3/4 for 3 mana. So he's one of those cards that in a draft I'd just about draft him every time. Like you don't have to rely on deserts. Like I've got 3 in this deck, and I'm happy to just have 1 out with him. So he's very useful in that sense. It gives you the ramp, even if you chump block him with him next turn, you still get that ramp. He's good. Bridal Bighorn, I didn't get to use as effectively as I'd probably hoped in this particular draft. Once again, partly just doing the saddle testing. I did go wide, most of my games, at least to some extent. Though most of them, my opponent sort of wore me down pretty quickly. And Bridal Bighorn is probably an example of they wore me down quickly because Bridal Bighorn is actually one of my bigger creatures, and yeah, it's sort of only a 3/4, which yeah, I know it sounds like I'm complaining a lot, but you got to be a bit careful. I think the vigilance helped more than anything in this particular case. I didn't create as many sheep as I wanted to, but yeah, I'm not sure if I'm happy with that card. Is sort of the long story short there. Reach for the Sky I played several times, and I forgot that I had two, so maybe I didn't quite draw them as often as I suspected. Though I did use it. I would probably say I used it a little bit too much on the aggressive, because I do have to keep in mind that it does have flash, it does give reach, and you can. I'm thinking. Actually, I don't really have any particularly small cards, but perhaps say Trained Arynx. You could, yeah, put Trained Arynx out as turn 2 or whatever, turn 3, put it out, and then reach for the Sky on the when your opponent attacks you, and it would actually make it pretty damn dangerous. Even if it is a fair trade, you still get the draw for it, so it replaces itself. So I probably should have used it a bit more effectively as a defensive combat trick. Though it might just be I sort of got the opportunity to use it aggressively too much. Though think of what you like for that. I'm pretty happy with that as a draft though. Sterling Supplier didn't get to play at all, though. Yeah, I can't really think of any particular scene where he would have been particularly good. I know he's not a win con, but he certainly helps in the right circumstance. Though, as I said during the draft, I had an opportunity to play another one of him, and I think one's fine. Spinewood's Paladin, as I do with a lot of my decks, I do think I require at least just one or two big dumb creatures, and he certainly does that very effectively. That gaining 3 life is good, certainly not bad. The plot 4 was at game 3. I think I plotted for him for 4. Is that how you phrase that? Anyway, I used his plot ability turn 4 because I wasn't sure that I was going to draw a land next turn, and in the power of hindsight, I did draw a land, and I didn't actually have to play him, but it's still a good use of effect because you could, especially if you get ramp, you could plot him turn 3. Though, yeah, you wouldn't get it with green black. Anyway, if you are able to plot him turn 3 and play him turn 4, you're, okay, sure, not leaps and bounds ahead, but you are ahead of your opponent, so that's good. Full Steam Ahead. As I drafted it, I said something to the effect of, I hope that I play this card, win the game, sort of thing. It is essentially a win con, especially seeing that I'm going pretty wide. I did use it twice, if I'm not mistaken. And I think I used it sort of to the point that I proved my point, if that's how you say it, that it would have been a win con. It just so happened that the 2 times I did use it, I was just shy of the victory of the last 2 damage or whatever it was I needed at the time. So I think, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that I would stand by that and saying, yes, you use that as your win con. I just didn't quite have the ability to do it. And with that power of hindsight, I probably didn't go wide enough to use it effectively. Though I think it worked particularly well with Bristlepack Sentry, actually. Was it game... I think it was game 3, that I had 2 of them out, used Full Steam Ahead, got to attack for 10 trample, that is a bit hard to block too, so I think in that particular scene I used it quite effectively, though yeah, as I said, I didn't quite win because of it. And Cactarantula, which I still have trouble pronouncing for some reason, is, yeah, it's sort of one of those just big dumb creatures, and it works. I think he got destroyed every time by my opponent targeting it with something, so I did get that draw effect off him, though that's not why you play him. But if you get to play him as a 5 mana cost creature, he's pretty dang good. And I did have a bit in the desert department there. As far as that, I did float the idea that I maybe should have actually dropped a land, because there was probably 2 or 3 games even, maybe the 3 that I lost. At least 2 games where I sort of thought, yeah, I've got too many lands out, like I've drawn too many lands. Maybe it was just bad luck, but I hazard a guess that I should have relied a little bit more on sure stick low on the mana curve, but I could have probably dropped a land. Especially seeing as I've got a little ramp. Arid Archway can let you play more lands, and I'm only playing 2 colours, so it's not like I need to sort of have 3 of each colour or something like that. As far as my sideboard, Omenport Vigilante, as I said during the draft, it's a good card, but I don't think in this set of circumstances I'll get to use it particularly well. I'm sure there would have been 1 or 2 times that I would have given it double strike, but it's only the power of hindsight that shows you that. Vengeful Townsfolk, once again, it's passable, though it might have been a little better than I was expecting, I suppose, because I did often go pretty wide pretty quickly, and I might have actually got a bit of use out of that triggered ability. Though whether it would have won me the game or not is very much up for grabs. As far as blue, I basically kept drafting blue. Partly because a lot of blue cards seem to come up, but I did draft a bit of blue just because I thought, okay, if I put a color in it may as well be blue. Though, is there anything? I didn't pay as much attention to blue as I probably should have. But just looking at what I've got here, it's a little bit perhaps too control. Like Spring Splasher, Failed Fording, and Harrier Strix are arguably control cards. And seeing that I was going at least somewhat aggressive, or at least fast game if not necessarily aggressive, I don't think those 3 cards would have been good. Razzle Dazzler, you sort of have to at least trigger that casting second spell each turn, I'd say at least once. I'm sure there would have been a situation I got to trigger that, but I don't think I would have drafted him just for that. Geyser Drake, I didn't have much by way of instant. Actually, what did I have by way of instant spells and such? 2 instant spells. So I don't think I would have got much use out of that anyway. Seize the Secrets. He's good, but it's a lot more by itself. It's very much on the if you commit a crime, it's a really good card. If you don't commit a crime, it's certainly not terrible, but you got to be a bit careful doing that. Daring Thunder Thief would have been, had I splashed blue, would have been sort of the big dumb creature that I sort of wanted. Djinn of Fool's Fall, rather. That's how you spell fall. Similar sort of story there. I suppose that if I had gone blue, I would have put that in instead of the Spinewoods Paladin, maybe, because it has flying. But Spinewoods Paladin has the trample and the gain 3 life. And while gaining 3 life certainly doesn't win you the game, it might just give you that 1 turn. So maybe Djinn of Fool's Fall. I suppose maybe instead of Cactarantula. Peerless Rope Master. Not a huge fan of it anyway. But it does have its moments. I think though Peerless Rope Master, it does have to be a bit more control centric. So of all the blue cards, I think what I let's say you have to go blue. Of these cards, I probably would have gone like maybe Razzle Dazzle and maybe Peerless Rope Master, but yeah, I can't see anything that I would have like definitely taken out for. Rodeo Pyromancers, it it works in the right circumstances, but I really don't think I would have got much use out of it, especially if I only had the 2 red spells here. 4/5 reach is good for Iron Fist Pulverizer. I swear I went to high school with that guy. But yeah, whenever you cast your second spell each turn, yeah, I wouldn't have got much use out of the second spell bit. So at least out of these 2 cards, I'm glad I didn't go red. At least from what I've got here, had I gone blue, it would have basically been control. So just off the top of my head, if I'd gotten rid of, say, Snakeskin Veil, Steer Clear, and probably 1 or even 2 Gristlepack Sentry, yeah, let's just pencil in 2 Bristlepack Sentry. What would I have drafted instead? Probably Harrier Strix. Gives me that little bit of tempo advantage there, as does Failed Fording. Yeah, which would have been good on that sense. Probably Peerless Rope Master, and I suppose Seize the Secrets. Yeah, but feel free to disagree with me there. I suppose at the end of the day, though, what sort of comes down to it is I lost 3 games and won 1. So that's how well that deck went. Thanks for watching, though. See you later.